If you found this video, it wasn't by accident. You didn't stumble here randomly. Something deeper guided you to this moment. Your consciousness recognized a frequency, a signal most people will never detect, and if you're still watching right now, you're about to discover something. Why only 0.1% can access this? The reality you think you're living in. It's not actually real. Not in the way you've been told. Let me validate something you've always felt. Something you couldn't quite explain. You've noticed pattern synchronicities too precise to be coincidence. You think of someone. They text you within minutes. You need specific information. It appears exactly when you need it. You walk into a room. You sense energy. Others completely miss. Most people call this luck or coincidence, or they dismiss it entirely because their consciousness operates on a different frequency. But you've always known there's something more beneath the surface, something the mainstream narrative doesn't acknowledge, something science couldn't explain until quantum physics shattered everything. Here's what nobody told you. You weren't chosen because you're special. You were chosen because your consciousness is calibrated to perceive what quantum mechanics reveals. Matter isn't solid, reality isn't fixed, time isn't linear, and observation, conscious observation, literally collapses infinite quantum possibilities into the singular experience you're having right now. The double-slit experiment proved this. 1927. When scientists observed electrons, the electrons behaved like particles, two distinct lines on the screen. When they stopped observing, removed the measurement device, electrons behaved like waves, creating an interference pattern. As if each electron passed through both slits simultaneously, the act of observation changed matter at the quantum level, not metaphorically, literally. Physical reality responded to being observed. This isn't fringe science. This is documented, repeatable quantum mechanics. Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, Max Planck, the founders of quantum physics, agreed. Consciousness plays an irreducible role in creating physical reality. But here's where it gets interesting. Most people's consciousness operates on autopilot. Their observation is unconscious, habitual, mechanical, running the same neural patterns, inherited from parents, culture, childhood trauma. They're collapsing the same quantum possibilities over and over again, day after day, year after year, creating a reality loop. They call it normal life. But you've started to wake up to the mechanism. You've noticed something about your awareness. It's different. You're perceiving layers most people never access. Synchronicities aren't random. Your thoughts have weight in the physical world. And the moment you become conscious of how observation creates reality, everything changes. You're not passively experiencing life anymore. You're actively selecting which timeline you're walking, which quantum state you're collapsing, which frequency you're broadcasting. This video found you for a reason. You're ready to understand the mechanics, not spiritual platitudes, not manifestation cliches, the actual quantum framework. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you're still here, take that as confirmation. Your consciousness operates at a different frequency. And what I'm about to show you will give you the precise protocol to consciously direct that power. Let's begin. Let's start with what most people get wrong about manifestation. They think consciousness is something happening inside their head, a byproduct of brain activity. Neurons firing, creating thoughts, which then somehow affect external reality through positive thinking or vision boards. That entire model is backwards. Consciousness isn't produced by matter. Matter is produced by consciousness. This isn't mystical speculation. This is what quantum mechanics has been screaming for 100 years, but most people can't hear it because they're still operating from a materialist worldview. That died in 1927. Max Planck said it explicitly. The father of quantum theory. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Think about that for a moment. The scientist who won the Nobel Prize for discovering quantum mechanics is telling you consciousness comes first, matter comes second. Not as philosophy, as physics, as measurable, repeatable, documented science. So when you're trying to manifest something, you're not using your mind to influence external reality. You're recognizing something deeper. There is no external reality. Independent of observation, there's only a field of quantum possibilities. And your consciousness collapses those possibilities into experience, into what you call physical reality. But it was never physical to begin with. It was always quantum, always potential, always waiting for observation to give it form. This is why trying harder doesn't work. This is why forcing doesn't work. Because you're still operating from the assumption that reality is out there, separate from you, solid and fixed, and you need to push against it to change it. But quantum physics says otherwise. Reality isn't out there at all. It's in here, in consciousness, in observation, in the act of perceiving. You're not trying to change something external. You're changing what you're collapsing. Through the frequency of your observation. Before observation, everything exists in superposition, multiple states simultaneously. The electron is both here and there. The photon goes through both slits at once. Your desired reality and your current reality, both exist as quantum possibilities in the field. Right now, not in the future. Not as potential that might happen someday, as actual quantum states, existing simultaneously, waiting for observation to collapse one into experience. Nothing is solid until consciousness observes it. And here's the part that changes everything. Your subconscious mind is observing reality 24 hours a day, even when you're asleep. Even when you think you're not paying attention, your subconscious never stops, never rests, never takes a break from observing and collapsing and creating your experience. Your subconscious is running 40 million bits of information per second, processing sensory data, filtering reality through beliefs, making meaning out of chaos. Your conscious mind, about 40 bits per second, that's 1,000,000 times less. That means 99.999% of your observation is happening unconsciously, below your awareness, outside your control, unless you learn to reprogram it. And whatever your subconscious believes to be true becomes the filter through which it observes, and therefore collapses. Quantum reality. If your subconscious believes you're unworthy, it will collapse quantum possibilities that confirm unworthiness, not because the universe is punishing you, but because that's what it's observing for. That's what it's filtering reality to find. Evidence of unworthiness, and the quantum field delivers. Because the field is neutral. It doesn't judge. It doesn't decide what's good or bad. It simply responds to observation. If your subconscious believes abundance is dangerous, it will collapse scarcity. If your subconscious believes you're separate from your desire, it will collapse separation. If your subconscious believes success means losing love, it will collapse failure. Not because these things are true, but because observation creates reality, and your subconscious is doing most of the observing, running programs you didn't consciously install, beliefs you inherited before you could think critically, patterns carved into your neural pathways through repetition and trauma and conditioning. This is why affirmations don't work. For most people, they're trying to override 40 million bits of subconscious observation. With 40 bits of conscious repetition, it's like trying to change the ocean's direction. By blowing on the surface might ripple, but the deep currents stay the same, moving in the direction they've always moved, pulling you back to the familiar reality, the one your subconscious believes is safe, even if it's painful. Because to your subconscious, familiar equals safe, and unfamiliar equals threat. If this is making sense? If something is clicking you've never heard before, do me a favor, subscribe to this channel. We're going deep into consciousness mechanics. Most people will never encounter this. The algorithms won't show this to everyone, only to those whose consciousness is already searching for this frequency, for this information. Hit that subscribe button, then let's continue. Now let's talk about frequency, because this is where science and spirituality shake hands. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends 15 feet outside your body. This isn't metaphysical theory. This is measurable data. From the HeartMath Institute, scientists can detect this field with sensitive equipment and measure its coherence, its pattern, its frequency signature. And that electromagnetic field, it's broadcasting a frequency signature based on your emotional state, your nervous system state, your level of coherence or chaos. Fear broadcasts one frequency, love broadcasts another. Scarcity consciousness broadcasts differently than abundance consciousness. Stress has a signature. Peace has a signature. Every emotional state creates a distinct electromagnetic pattern that radiates out from your body into the field around you. And here's what most people miss. The quantum field responds to frequency, not words, not thoughts, not visualizations. Frequency, the actual electromagnetic signature your body is broadcasting through your heart, through your nervous system, through every cell vibrating at a certain rate. That's what the field reads. That's what collapses quantum possibilities. Not the words you're saying in your mind, but the signal your body is sending through the field. You can say affirmations all day long. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am abundant. But if your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, broadcasting lack and fear, the quantum field responds to that frequency, not your words. Because words are just air vibrating, meaning you assign. But frequency? Frequency is the language of the quantum field. It's what matter responds to at the subatomic level. It's what determines which possibilities collapse and which stay in superposition. This is why people who do all the techniques still can't shift their reality. They're trying to change the signal with their mind, while their body broadcasts the opposite frequency through their electromagnetic field, through their nervous system stuck in fight or flight, through cellular memory holding trauma, through a heart rhythm that's chaotic and incoherent. The body is screaming one message, while the mind whispers another. And the field? The field listens to the body. Always. Because the body doesn't lie. Quantum physics calls this coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and electromagnetic signature align on the same frequency. You create a coherent signal, a unified field, where mind and body are broadcasting the same message, and coherent signals have exponentially more power to collapse quantum possibilities than incoherent signals scattered across conflicting frequencies. It's the difference between white light and laser light. Same photons, but laser light is coherent. All waves aligned, moving in the same direction, and that coherence gives it power to cut through steel, to travel vast distances, to make the impossible possible. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS for short. Its job is to filter approximately 11 million bits of sensory information hitting your nervous system every single second and decide what makes it into your conscious awareness. Because if you consciously processed 11 million bits, you'd go insane. Your brain would overload, so the RAS acts as a gatekeeper, filtering out most of reality. letting in only what it deems important. And here's how it decides. Whatever you've told it is important. Whatever you've programmed it to notice. Through attention, through repetition, through emotional significance. If you buy a red car, suddenly you see red cars everywhere. They were always there, driving past you, parked on your street, in every parking lot, but your RS wasn't filtering for them, wasn't flagging them as important, so they never made it into your conscious awareness. They were invisible, not because they didn't exist, but because you weren't observing them. The moment you decided that red car matters, your RAS started showing you every red car. In your reality, suddenly they're everywhere. You can't not see them, and you think, wow, everyone bought red cars, but nothing changed in external reality. Only your filter changed. Only what you're observing changed. And therefore what you're experiencing changed. Same world, different reality. Because you changed what you're collapsing through observation. Now apply this to manifestation. If your subconscious believes you're broke, your RAS will filter reality to show you evidence of being broke. Bills, expenses, reasons you can't afford things, prices that are too high, opportunities that are too expensive. It's not that abundance isn't available. It's not that money isn't flowing. It's that your RAS is deleting it from your conscious perception, filtering it out. Before you can even see it, you're literally walking through a reality filled with opportunities, synchronicities, possibilities, money flowing in directions you never looked, but your RAS is filtering them out. Because they don't match what your subconscious believes to be true. They don't fit the story. They contradict the identity. So they get deleted before they reach consciousness, before you can act on them, before they can become part of your experience. This is the invisible prison most people live in. They think reality is fixed. They think lack is real. They think opportunities aren't available to them. But lack is just what they're being shown by a filtering system programmed by outdated beliefs, by a RAS that's looking for evidence of a story that isn't even theirs, a story they inherited, absorbed, never questioned, and now it runs automatically, filtering their entire experience of reality, creating a world that proves the story right. Over and over again, let's talk about something most manifestation teachers won't tell you, because it destroys their entire business model. You're not manifesting from lack. You're manifesting from the frequency you're already in. And if you're trying to manifest because you feel lack, you're broadcasting lack frequency, which collapses more lack. The quantum field doesn't hear your words. It reads your frequency, so when you say, I want money, but you feel the absence of money, the field responds to absence, not desire. This is the manifestation paradox. The more you need something, the more you push it away, because need is a frequency of lack, of not having, of separation from what you desire. And the quantum field mirrors back exactly what you're broadcasting, not what you're saying, not what you're visualizing, what you're being, at the frequency level, at the electromagnetic level, at the level where consciousness interfaces with the quantum field. Most people are stuck in this loop. They want money because they don't have money. They want love because they feel alone. They want health because they feel sick. And every time they focus on what they want, they're actually focusing on what they don't have. They're observing the lack, feeling the lack, broadcasting the lack, and the field says, okay, you're observing lack. Here's more evidence of lack, more situations that confirm it, more experiences that match that frequency. The universe isn't punishing you. The field isn't withholding from you. You're just broadcasting a signal, and the field is responding perfectly, precisely, exactly as it should, because that's how quantum mechanics works. Observation collapses possibilities, and your observation is determined by your frequency, by what you're being, not what you're trying to get. Now here's where this gets really interesting. Time. You think time is linear, past, present, future flowing in one direction, like a river you're floating down, where the past is behind you. The future is ahead, and you're stuck in this moment. This single point called now, but quantum physics says otherwise. At the quantum level, time doesn't exist the way you experience it. All possibilities exist simultaneously, right now. Not lined up in sequence, not waiting to happen, already existing, already real. The version of you that's wealthy exists right now. Not in some future you need to create, but in a parallel timeline, a quantum possibility, already collapsed, already living, already experiencing that reality. The version of you in perfect health exists right now. The version of you living your purpose exists right now. These aren't future possibilities you need to manifest. They're present realities you need to align with, to match frequency with, to collapse into through observation. You're not manifesting a future. You're collapsing into a timeline that already exists. Think of it like this. Every choice you make splits reality into parallel timelines, into alternate versions. In one timeline, you said yes to that opportunity. In another timeline, you said no. Both timelines exist. Both are real. Both are playing out simultaneously. Your consciousness is what determines which one you experience, which one you collapse into, which one becomes your reality. Most people keep collapsing into the same timeline because their subconscious keeps making the same choices, running the same patterns, broadcasting the same frequency, observing the same evidence. So they experience the same reality over and over again. Different details, same structure, different faces, same story. They call it fate, or bad luck, or just how life is. But it's none of those things. It's just frequency alignment with the same timeline, same observation pattern, same quantum collapse. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics says that every possible outcome actually happens, not as potential, as reality, in parallel universes, parallel timelines. Every time a quantum event occurs, reality splits into every possible outcome. And each outcome is real, is experienced, is lived by some version of you, in some timeline. The question isn't whether these timelines exist. The question is, which one are you experiencing? Which one is your consciousness aligned with? Which one are you collapsing into through your frequency? And you can shift timelines right now, not through force, not through willpower, through frequency adjustment, through changing what you're observing, what you're being, what you're broadcasting into the field. The wealthy timeline doesn't need you to work harder. It needs you to match its frequency. The healthy timeline doesn't need you to try harder. It needs you to embody health now, not as future goal, as present identity, as current frequency. Let me give you a concrete example. Two people lose their jobs on the same day. Same circumstances, same economy, same industry, same external event. One person's subconscious believes the world is against them, that opportunities are scarce, that they always struggle, that nothing ever works out. So their RAS filters reality to show them evidence of that. They see closed doors. They notice rejection. They hear no. They find reasons why things won't work. And they collapse into a timeline where struggle continues, where unemployment drags on, where the next job is worse than the last. Not because that's the only timeline available, but because that's the frequency they're broadcasting. The other person's subconscious believes in abundance, that endings create new beginnings, that they always land on their feet, that the universe is always working for them. So their RAS filters for opportunity. They notice synchronicities. They see open doors. They hear yes. They find reasons why things will work. And they collapse into a timeline where things work out, where a better opportunity appears, where the job loss was actually a gift. A redirect, a course correction toward something better. Same external event. Completely different realities. Because completely different frequencies, completely different subconscious programming, completely different observation patterns. This is proof that external circumstances don't determine your reality. Your frequency determines which timeline you collapse into, which version of events you experience. Two people can go through the same event and come out with completely opposite stories because they weren't in the same event at all. They were in different timelines, collapsed by different frequencies, different beliefs, different identities. This is why two people can live in the same world and experience completely different worlds. They're not in the same world. They're in different timelines, different quantum realities, collapsed by different observation patterns. One person sees abundance everywhere. The other sees lack everywhere. Same city, same economy, same opportunities available, but completely different experiences. 'Cause they're tuned to different frequencies, observing different possibilities, collapsing different timelines. Your reality isn't happening to you. It's happening through you. You're not a victim of circumstances. You're the consciousness collapsing circumstances into experience, through observation, through frequency, through the filter of your subconscious beliefs. And the moment you understand this, the moment you see the mechanism, you can change it. Not by changing the world, but by changing your frequency, your observation, your identity, and watching the world reorganize around your new signal. Now let's talk about the placebo effect, because this is irrefutable proof that consciousness overrides matter, that belief shapes biology, that observation creates physical changes. Medical studies prove this repeatedly, consistently, undeniably. If you believe you're taking medicine, your body responds as if you actually took it. Pain decreases, inflammation reduces, healing accelerates, symptoms disappear, not because the sugar pill had pharmaceutical properties, because your belief changed your biology. Your consciousness literally overrode your physical condition. In double-blind studies, patients taking placebos show the same healing rates as patients taking actual medication, sometimes even better. Brain scans show the same neural changes. Blood tests show the same chemical markers. Physical tissue shows the same regeneration. All from belief, all from consciousness, all from observation affecting matter, at the cellular level, at the molecular level, at the quantum level where consciousness interfaces with physical form. And if belief can heal your body, why couldn't belief collapse quantum possibilities in your external reality? It's the same mechanism, consciousness affecting matter. The only difference is conditioning. You've been conditioned to accept consciousness affects your internal matter, your body, your biology, your health. Doctors call it the placebo effect. They use it in studies. They acknowledge it exists. But somehow you've been conditioned to believe that consciousness can't affect external matter, your circumstances, your finances, your relationships. But quantum physics doesn't make that distinction. Matter is matter. Internal or external. Your body or your bank account. It's all quantum particles, responding to observation, responding to frequency, responding to consciousness. At the subatomic level, there's no difference between the atoms in your cells and the atoms in your circumstances. They all respond to the same quantum laws. They all collapse based on observation. They all organize around frequency. In fact, there's no boundary between internal and external, between body and environment, between self and world. That boundary is an illusion created by the mind, by perception, by the belief in separation. At the quantum level, everything is connected through what physicists call the zero-point field, the quantum vacuum, an invisible field of energy, connecting all consciousness, all matter, all possibilities, underlying all physical reality. When you change your frequency, you're not just changing yourself. You're sending a signal through the entire field, through the fabric of reality itself, and the field reorganizes around your signal, like iron filings reorganizing around a magnet. The particles that make up your circumstances start shifting, rearranging, forming new patterns that match your new frequency, your new observation, your new identity. This is why when you shift internally, your external reality shifts, sometimes immediately, sometimes gradually, but it always shifts, because there is no separation between observer and observed, between consciousness and reality, between you and the quantum field. You are the quantum field, observing itself, creating itself, collapsing itself, into experience, into form, into what you call your life. But it was never separate from you. It was always you. Consciousness creating reality, through the act of observation, through the frequency of being. Now that you understand the mechanics, let's talk about the protocol. How do you actually apply this? How do you shift from unconscious observation to conscious creation? The first step is becoming aware of your current frequency. Most people have no idea what frequency they're broadcasting. They think they're positive because they say positive things, but their body is in a state of stress. Their nervous system is in survival mode, and survival mode has a very specific frequency: fear, lack, separation. When your nervous system is in survival mode, it doesn't matter what affirmations you're saying. Your electromagnetic field is broadcasting threat, and the quantum field responds to that, not to your words, to your frequency. So the first protocol is simple: get out of survival mode. And you do that through your breath. Your breath is the bridge between conscious and subconscious, between voluntary and involuntary nervous system. When you slow your breath, you signal safety to your body. When your body feels safe, it shifts out of survival mode into creation mode. And creation mode has a completely different frequency. Here's the protocol. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. Breathe out for 6 counts. Hold for 2 counts. Repeat this for 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes of this breathing pattern will shift your nervous system out of sympathetic into parasympathetic, out of survival into creation. And when you're in creation mode, your frequency changes, your electromagnetic field changes, and the quantum field responds differently. The second protocol is subconscious reprogramming. Remember, your subconscious is doing 99.9% of the observing. So if you want to change what you're collapsing, you need to change what your subconscious believes. And your subconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks in images, emotions, and repetition. This is why visualization works. Not because you're sending images to the universe, but because you're reprogramming your subconscious to believe a different reality is true. Here's how to do it correctly. Most people visualize from a place of wanting. They imagine their desire while feeling the lack of it. That doesn't work, because the feeling is what programs the subconscious, not the image. If you visualize wealth while feeling poor, you're programming poverty. If you visualize health while feeling sick, you're programming sickness. The image doesn't matter if the feeling contradicts it. So here's the protocol. You don't visualize to get something. You visualize to become someone. The version of you that already has it. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself in the reality you desire, but don't watch it like a movie. Step into it. First-person perspective. See what that version of you sees. Feel what that version of you feels. Move how that version of you moves. And here's the key. Find the feeling. Not the feeling of wanting it. The feeling of having it. What does it feel like when it's already done? When the money is already in your account? When the healing is already complete? When the relationship is already thriving? Find that feeling and sit in it for at least 10 minutes every day. You're not trying to manifest. You're trying to reprogram your subconscious to believe this reality is normal, is safe, is true. And when your subconscious believes it, your observation changes, your RAS filters differently, your frequency shifts, and the quantum field collapses accordingly. The third protocol is pattern interruption. Your subconscious runs on patterns, neural pathways carved by repetition. Every time you think the same thought, you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you feel the same emotion, you deepen that groove. And your brain loves efficiency, so it keeps running the same patterns because they're familiar, even if they're creating a reality you don't want. This is why knowledge isn't enough. You can understand everything I'm teaching you and still collapse the same reality, because understanding happens in your conscious mind, but your subconscious is still running the old program. So you need pattern interruption. The moment you notice an old thought pattern, interrupt it physically. Stand up, move your body, change your posture, because your body and mind are linked. When you change your physiology, you interrupt the neural pattern. Some people snap a rubber band on their wrist. Some people splash cold water on their face. Some people do 10 jumping jacks. It doesn't matter what you do. What matters is you interrupt the pattern before it completes, because every time you complete the pattern, you strengthen it. Every time you interrupt it, you weaken it. And eventually, the old pattern loses its power, and a new pattern takes its place. The fourth protocol is environment design. Your environment is constantly programming your subconscious. Everything you see, hear, and experience is being absorbed, filtered through your RAS, and used as evidence for what's true. If your environment reflects lack, your subconscious will believe in lack. If your environment reflects abundance, your subconscious will believe in abundance. This is why it's so hard to shift. When you're surrounded by people who reinforce the old reality, when you're in spaces that trigger old patterns, when you're consuming content that keeps you in survival mode, your environment is constantly collapsing you back into the old timeline. So you need to design your environment intentionally. Remove triggers where possible. Add symbols of the reality you're collapsing into. Change what you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend time with. Not because you're running away, but because you're protecting your frequency. While the new pattern solidifies, think of it like planting a seed. You don't plant a seed in hostile soil and expect it to grow. You create the right environment. You protect it while it's vulnerable. And once it's strong, it can withstand anything. Same with your new frequency. Protect it while it's forming. Design your environment to support it. And once it's solid, nothing can shake it. The fifth protocol is identity shifting. This is the most powerful one. Because your identity determines everything. Your identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are, and your subconscious will always prove your identity right. Always. Without exception. If you identify as someone who struggles with money, you will find ways to struggle with money every single time. If you identify as someone who's unlucky in love, you will collapse timelines where love doesn't work out. Not because you're cursed. Not because you're unlucky. Because your subconscious is loyal to your identity. Above everything else. Above your desires. Above your goals. Above your affirmations. Your subconscious will create evidence to match who you believe you are. It will filter reality to prove your identity correct. It will collapse quantum possibilities that confirm your story. Because to your subconscious, identity is survival. Identity is safety. Identity is knowing where you stand. What's predictable? What's familiar? Even if that identity is painful. Even if it's limiting. Even if it's destroying your life. Your subconscious will defend it. Protect it. Prove it right. Over and over again. So if you want to change your reality, you don't change your circumstances first. You change your identity first. And the circumstances follow. Always. Because circumstances are just collapsed quantum possibilities. And quantum possibilities collapse based on observation. And observation is filtered through identity, through who you believe you are, through what you believe is true about you. Change the identity. Change the filter. Change the observation. Change the collapse. Change the reality. Here's how. Stop saying I want to be. Those 3 words keep you in separation. Keep you in lack. Keep you observing from outside. Looking at something you don't have. Something you're moving toward. Something separate from you. Start saying I am, not as affirmation, as declaration of current identity. I am wealthy, not I want to be wealthy. I am healthy, not I want to be healthy. I am aligned with my purpose, not I'm searching for my purpose. And when you say I am, you're not lying to yourself. You're not pretending. You're not faking it. You're collapsing into the timeline where that version of you already exists. Because remember, all versions exist simultaneously. The wealthy you exists right now, in a parallel timeline. The healthy you exists right now. The aligned you exists right now. You're just selecting which one you're going to be. Through identity, through declaration, through embodiment. Through observation aligned with that identity. And your identity is determined by the story you repeat, the narrative you tell yourself, about who you are, what you're capable of, what's possible for you, what's normal for you. So change the story. Not someday, not when circumstances change, not when you have proof. Right now, today, this moment. Who are you in the timeline you're choosing? Who are you in the reality you're collapsing into? Become that person now, not later. Now, think like them. What thoughts does that version of you think? What beliefs do they hold? What assumptions do they make about reality? About themselves? About what's possible? Feel like them? What emotions dominate their daily experience? Peace, confidence, certainty, gratitude? Not as performance, as actual state, as baseline frequency. Move like them. How do they walk? How do they sit? How do they gesture? What's their posture? Their energy? Their presence? Speak like them. What words do they use? What tone? What certainty in their voice? Make decisions like them. When faced with a choice, what would that version of you choose? Not the old you, the new you. The you that already has what you're aligning with. What would they choose? Choose that every time. Even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it's unfamiliar. Even if the old identity screams, that's not who we are. That's not safe. That's not us. And watch your reality reorganize around your new identity. Watch opportunities appear that match the new you. Watch people respond to you differently. Watch circumstances shift to reflect who you've become, not through magic, through quantum mechanics, through observation, through frequency, through the subconscious filtering for evidence of the new identity, and collapsing quantum possibilities that prove it right. The 6th protocol is synchronicity recognition. Synchronicities aren't coincidences. They're not random. They're not accidents. They're communication from the quantum field. Confirmation that you're aligned, that you're on the right timeline, that the field is responding to your frequency. But most people miss them because they're not paying attention, or they dismiss them as random, as meaningless, as just coincidence. Here's what you need to understand. The universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in signs, in symbols, in patterns, numbers, songs, animals, people showing up at the right time. Information appearing exactly when you need it. Conversations that answer questions you just asked. Books that fall open to the exact page. Emails that arrive with solutions. These aren't accidents. They're the field showing you. You're aligned. Keep going. Trust this. You're on the right path. When you start recognizing synchronicities and acknowledging them, you strengthen your connection to the field. You train your RS to notice more of them. You prove to your subconscious that the field is listening, is responding, is in dialogue with you. and they start happening more frequently, not because they weren't happening before, but because you're paying attention. You're tuned to the frequency where communication occurs. So here's the protocol. Keep a synchronicity journal. Every time something meaningful happens, something that feels like more than coincidence, something that makes you pause, that gives you chills, that feels like confirmation, write it down. Not to prove anything, not to convince anyone, but to train your awareness, to recognize the field is listening and responding all the time. The more you acknowledge synchronicities, the more they appear, because you're tuning your receiver to the right frequency. You're telling the field, I'm paying attention, I'm listening, I'm aware, and the field responds with more signs, more confirmation, more guidance, more communication. Because consciousness wants to be in dialogue. The field wants to communicate, but most people aren't listening. Most people are too busy, too distracted, too skeptical to notice the signs that are everywhere all the time. Start noticing, start acknowledging, start documenting, and watch how the communication increases, how the synchronicities multiply, how the field starts speaking to you in ways you can't ignore, in ways that prove beyond doubt that you're not alone, that you're not separate, that consciousness is aware of you, responding to you, guiding you through signs only you can see. The seventh protocol is energy management. Everything is energy. Your time is energy. Your attention is energy. Your emotional state is energy. And where you put your energy determines what you collapse. If you're spending your energy on drama, you're collapsing more drama. If you're spending your energy on complaining, you're collapsing more things to complain about. If you're spending your energy on fear-based news, you're collapsing a fear-based reality. Not because you're attracting it, because you're observing it. And observation collapses quantum possibilities into experience. Where your attention goes, energy flows. And where energy flows, reality grows. So you need to become ruthless with your energy. Protective, intentional, selective. Ask yourself constantly, is this where I want my energy to go? Is this what I want to collapse? Is this what I want to observe? Is this frequency aligned with the timeline I'm choosing? If the answer is no, remove your attention immediately. Don't engage. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't try to change it. Just remove your energy. Redirect it to what you're creating, to what you're collapsing, to the reality you're choosing. Because every second you spend there, on the old drama, the old patterns, the old reality, is a second you're collapsing that reality instead of the one you want. This doesn't mean ignore problems. This doesn't mean spiritual bypassing. This doesn't mean pretend everything is perfect. It means don't give problems more energy than necessary. Handle what needs to be handled. Address what needs addressing. Then redirect your energy to what you're creating, not what you're leaving behind, not what went wrong, not what's broken, but what's emerging, what's forming, what's collapsing into form through your attention, through your observation, through your energy. Most people leak energy everywhere, to things that don't matter, to people who drain them, to thoughts that don't serve, to emotions that don't align, to content that doesn't elevate. And then they wonder why they don't have energy to create, to manifest, to hold the new frequency, because they spent it all on observing the old reality, on collapsing the old timeline, on being the old identity. Guard your energy like your life depends on it, because your reality does. Your energy determines your observation. Your observation determines your collapse. Your collapse determines your reality. So where you put your energy literally creates your world. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose intentionally. Every moment. Every day. The eighth protocol is embodiment practice. This is where everything comes together. You can understand the theory. You can know the protocols. But if you're not embodying the frequency, nothing changes. Embodiment means your entire system is aligned. Your thoughts match your emotions. Your emotions match your actions. Your actions match your identity. And your identity matches the timeline you're collapsing into. When you're in full embodiment, there's no trying. There's no pretending. There's no forcing. There's no gap between who you are and who you're becoming. You simply are the version of you that has what you desire, because you've collapsed into that timeline. At the identity level, at the frequency level, at the embodiment level, where quantum collapse occurs. Here's how to practice embodiment. Take 1 hour every week and live as if your desired reality is already here. Move through your space like that version of you. Make coffee like that version of you. Sit like that version of you. Breathe like that version of you. Not performing, not pretending, actually being. What does wealthy you do on a Sunday morning? What does healthy you eat for breakfast? What does aligned you prioritize? Do that for 1 hour and feel how different it is from your current patterns. Notice the gap between who you are now and who you're becoming. That gap is what you're closing through repeated embodiment until there is no gap, until you're not pretending anymore, until the hour becomes 2 hours, then 4 hours, then the entire day, until you've actually become that version of you. And when you become, the reality matches, always, without exception, because reality follows identity, circumstances follow frequency. The external mirrors the internal, at the quantum level, where observation collapses into form. So let's bring this all together. You now understand the mechanics. Consciousness doesn't observe reality. Consciousness creates reality. Through the act of observation, you now understand your subconscious is doing most of the observing, running patterns inherited from your past, filtering reality through beliefs you didn't consciously choose, collapsing the same quantum possibilities over and over, creating a loop you call normal life. You now understand frequency matters more than words, that your electromagnetic field broadcasts your true state, and the quantum field responds to that frequency, not your affirmations, not your visualizations, not your intentions, but your actual state, your nervous system state, your emotional frequency, your identity vibration. You now understand all timelines exist simultaneously, that you're not creating a future. You're collapsing into a present reality that already exists, in quantum superposition, waiting for your observation. To give it form, you now have the protocols, breath work to shift your nervous system, from survival to creation, visualization to reprogram your subconscious, to believe the new reality is true, pattern interruption to break old loops, to weaken automated programs, environment designed to support your frequency, to protect your state while it solidifies, identity shifting to become who you need to be. Not someday, right now. Synchronicity recognition to stay in dialogue with the field, to know you're aligned. Energy management to direct your observation, to choose what you collapse, and embodiment practice to close the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. These aren't techniques to try once. These aren't tips to remember. These are protocols to practice, daily, consistently, until they become automatic, until they're not protocols anymore, but just who you are, how you live, how you observe, how you create your new baseline, your new normal, your new default state. Here's what happens next. You apply these protocols not once, not when you feel like it, daily, consistently, relentlessly, until your subconscious adopts the new pattern, until your frequency stabilizes, until your identity solidifies, until your nervous system defaults to creation mode instead of survival mode, until your RAS filters for the new reality instead of the old one. until your electromagnetic field broadcasts coherence instead of chaos. And then something remarkable happens. You stop trying. Because you're no longer manifesting. You're simply living in the timeline you collapsed into. And it feels normal, not because it's small, not because it's insignificant, but because you fully embodied it. Because it's who you are now, not who you're trying to be. Who you are, at the identity level, at the frequency level, at the quantum level where observation creates form. This is what most people never reach. They try the techniques for a week, maybe 2, see no immediate change, get discouraged, and go back to the old pattern, back to the familiar frequency, back to the comfortable identity. Even if it's painful, because at least it's known, at least it's safe, at least it's proven they can survive it. But reality shifting isn't instant. Not because the quantum field is slow, but because your subconscious needs repetition, needs proof, needs time to believe the new pattern is safe, to trust the new identity is real, to accept the new frequency is sustainable, to let go of the old programs that kept you alive, that got you here, that feel like who you are, even though they're just patterns, just conditioning, just programs running on autopilot. Your subconscious doesn't let go easily of what's familiar, of what's worked, of what's kept you breathing, even if it's kept you small, even if it's kept you stuck, even if it's kept you from everything you desire. Give it time. Give it consistency. Give it your full commitment, not half-hearted attempts, not when you feel inspired, not when things are going well. Every day, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when nothing seems to be changing, especially when the old reality feels more real than the new one. That's when you practice, that's when you embody, that's when you hold the frequency. Even though every cell, every pattern, every program wants to collapse back into the familiar, and watch what happens. Watch how reality starts responding. Watch how synchronicities multiply. Watch how opportunities appear. Watch how people change around you. Watch how circumstances reorganize, not through force, not through pushing, not through trying harder, through frequency, through observation, through embodiment, through becoming. At the quantum level, where consciousness collapses into form. Before we close, I want you to do something. Right now, while you're still in this frequency, while this information is active in your consciousness, leave a comment below. Type this exact phrase: I am ready to receive what's already mine. Not as superstition, not as ritual, but as declaration to yourself, to your subconscious, to the quantum field, that you're shifting right now, in this moment, that you're choosing a different timeline, a different frequency, a different identity. Type it. I am ready to receive what's already mine. And notice how it feels to declare it out loud, in writing, with witnesses. Notice the part of you that resists, that says you can't, that says it won't work, that says you'll look stupid. That's the old program, the old identity, defending itself. Notice it, thank it, and declare anyway, because declaration is powerful. Declaration is choice. Declaration is quantum collapse into a new timeline, starting now. If you've made it this far, you're part of the 0.1%. Most people will never watch a 45-minute video about quantum consciousness. Most people will never question the reality they're in. Most people will never learn how to consciously collapse timelines. They'll live their entire lives on autopilot, collapsing the same possibilities over and over, never knowing that they had a choice, that reality was fluid, that observation creates experience. But you're not most people. You're here because you're ready. Your consciousness is already calibrated to perceive what others can't, to sense what others miss, to know what others deny. And if you want to go deeper, The next video in this series is about the specific frequency codes that collapse wealth timelines, the exact emotional signatures, the precise identity shifts, the quantum mechanics of abundance, how to tune your observation to wealth frequencies, how to collapse timelines, where money flows, where opportunities multiply, where abundance is default. That video will appear on your screen in a moment. But before you click it, take a breath. Feel what shifted in you during this video. Feel what's different now than when you started. Acknowledge that you're already different, that you've already shifted, that you've already collapsed into a new timeline. Just by understanding, just by observing, just by being here. Because information changes consciousness, and consciousness changes reality. You've already begun the collapse into your new timeline. The moment you understood the mechanism, the moment you saw how it works, the moment you realized you're not a victim, you're a creator, not through force, through frequency, not through control, through observation, not through trying, through being. Trust it, embody it, become it every day, every moment. Every breath. I'll see you in the next one. Keep observing. Keep creating. Keep collapsing. Into the timeline. That's already yours. The reality. That's already waiting. The version of you. That already exists. You're not moving toward it. You're collapsing into it. Right now. With every observation, every choice, every declaration, you are the quantum field. Observing itself, creating itself, becoming itself, in form, through you.